Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Tuesday, June the 9th. Hello, this is episode number 41 of Coffee with Campus Consultancy. If you're joining us today, welcome. Thanks for coming along. If you're wondering why it's 41 today, not yesterday on a Monday, we had the Queen's birthday off. So congratulations to everyone out there who was awarded Order of Australia and Australian Medal and all those amazing things for all your amazing work. Well done. Today we've got an amazing guest. We've got Jessie on the show who I'll introduce you to in just a second. And what Jessie and I are going to be talking about today is from the student's perspective, what it's like to go through COVID-19 and how to make the most of it, how to do things that proactively improve your employment, your employability. So if you're a student, you're listening today, if you're going to give us 20 minutes of your time, we promise you there'll be some practical, actionable things you can do and still apply right now to increase your employability. And if you're a staff member, listen out for some tips on how you can support your students. So after this quick introduction, I'll get into it and I'll introduce you to Jessie. Jessie, my friend, good morning.
Good morning, Josh. How are you?
Very well, mate. How are you?
Good, man.
Very good. Jessie, tell us a little bit about, well, firstly, thank you for coming on today. And if you are listening, drop a comment below. If you have questions about employability during COVID, what students are up to, let us know and we'll read them out. Thank you for joining everyone who is already watching. But Jessie, tell us a little bit about who is Jessie, firstly, and where were you before all of this kicked off? What was life like in the life of Jessie pre-COVID?
So Jessie is a second-year commerce student at the University of Melbourne, and oh geez, that seems like such a long time ago. Well, before
it seems like ages ago, hey?
Yeah, it does. So before the start of COVID, I was signing up to all these clubs at university. I was looking forward to having a really productive second year.
Yep.
So I was signing up to all these clubs, looking to get involved with the rowing team at the university, looking to start off the year really strongly. And to my credit, I've been able to do some of those things. But obviously, with COVID, I haven't been able to do things like organize sports.
Yeah, no doubt. So when you were at the start of the year and you're looking at COVID, and obviously you've done so much in the sort of extracurricular space now, things that help other students, is why I really wanted to chat with you today and share some of the work you're doing. What were you doing before COVID? So at the start of the year, you were studying, you'd signed up to a bunch of student clubs. What was sort of the logic behind that? Like, what were you looking for to get the most out of this year? And maybe like, what was the difference from first year to second year in your mind?
So that's a really good question. So the reason I'm doing all these things, like signing up to clubs and trying to join teams and things, is to actually work towards my goals. And so my first year, I think a few people could relate to this, but I wasn't very motivated, and so I didn't perform at my peak. I wasn't performing at my best. And so this year, I really wanted to start the year strong and finish the year strong and work towards who I wanted to be. So working on improving myself and becoming the sort of person that I want to be.
Okay, so it sounds like you've got some clarity there on what your goals are, who you want to be. So what does that look like then? So we've heard a little bit about the pre-COVID Jessie. Who is the Jessie of the future what's the target on the wall look like?
Well, I want to be an entrepreneur in 5 to 10 years time. And so to get to that, I've got all these steps that I want to get to along the way.
Yeah. And what does that look like? You want to start a business doing anything in particular?
So I want to start a social enterprise, and the end goal is going to be to help people. Yeah.
In any particular area?
I'm quite interested in mental health at the moment. So at the moment, I am starting a social enterprise with 4 other friends from university, from my college actually, St. Hilda's, and we're looking to build care packages that aid the mental health of students.
Cool. And so like longer term goal is start a social enterprise, develop those entrepreneurial skills, help people with mental health. Beautiful goal and a huge problem that we have to face in the world. So when you look at setting up your year so you develop those skills and develop your employability, which, employability could be you just have to employ yourself, but it's pretty hard to employ yourself if you don't have the skills necessary to make a business run.
Right.
I think this is a hard distinction that students we need to face head on, is either you develop the skills such that someone will pay you to work for them, or you develop the skills such that someone will pay you for you to serve them as a business owner, product deliverer, service deliverer. One way or another, we still need to develop skills. So when you were looking at your 2020 and trying to develop skills that had set you up for that, what were some of the things that you did? I mean, you mentioned signing up for clubs. Help us draw the connection here. How does signing up for clubs help you get the skills that you need to start a social enterprise in helping people with their mental health?
Well, the clubs that I was looking at joining specifically were consulting clubs. And so the reason I wanted to join those is obviously to put me in a good place for management consulting interviews and things. So I had that idea in mind when I was looking to join clubs. But obviously there are so many skills that you can get that aren't necessarily gained from just going to a consulting club. Like, there are so many different things you can do outside of university even. Like, you don't even need to join a club to start developing those skills.
Okay, cool. So that's interesting. So that idea of signing up to clubs, like, was that, and one of the things as students, if it's not like, oh, I have this one thing I want, like maybe there's a couple of options that you're trying to keep open right now. So it sounds like clubs was an avenue to get skills, to open yourself up for management consulting roles, which is different to the social enterprise concept, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you're doing the clubs to set you up for one potential career path, and then what were you doing to set you up for the mental health career path?
Well, I think they sort of build on each other, and yeah, you're right. They keep my avenues open. And so your question was, sorry, could you repeat?
So when you're like, end goal is start a social enterprise in mental health, what sort of steps did you take this year to set yourself up for that?
Right. So one of the things I've been doing is meditating a lot, and just focusing on my mental health in general and the importance of that. And so there's lots of things that I have been doing. Yeah.
And in terms of, so like practical actionable steps for you, like if your COVID strikes and you're saying, okay, well, maybe I want to go down the route of management consulting, maybe I want to start a social enterprise in the future. So how did you use your time talking about the idea of how to increase employability through COVID? What did you practically do with your time to help set you up and sort of further you along that path?
All right. Okay. I understand. So the way that we got into that I got into wanting to start a social enterprise was through an accelerated entrepreneurship program run by Campus Consultancy. And I and a group of 4 other friends from my college started working on an idea, and we knew that we wanted to do something with mental health. So we thought about that, and we talked about that, and eventually we came to the idea of care packages through trial and error, through seeing what would work in the market, what existed in the market, and what wouldn't work in the market, and what didn't currently yet exist.
Yeah. And so was the desire there, because I remember when we first met, the first time we met, you were talking about like you had this sort of passion and interest in meditation, and that's kind of like led into some of the more mental health focused stuff. Were you always interested in that area? Like, where did that, we know in the tertiary sector for university students, like mental health rates or mental ill health rates are about 1 in 4. We know Australia-wide they're about 1 in 5. So is that, even though that's a massive problem, there are lots of big problems in the world. How come that one piqued your interest, or was something that you and your group were more interested in pursuing?
So no, I wasn't always into meditation. I started around 6 months ago, and I was looking for things to better my mental health. And so it was pretty random. I came across Headspace. I told myself I would use it every day for a month, and then the habit stuck. Yeah, and
you did. You stuck to it every day for a month.
Yeah, I stuck to it, and then I became really interested in meditation.
Yeah, nice. And what was it that you were interested by? Like, lots of people try meditation. I tried meditation. I did it for a little while. I do my own version of it, but like the sit down, close your eyes every day for 10 minutes. I do it on and off every so often for a while, but then I'm like, life gets in the way for me, and I handle it in other ways. What was it about it that resonated with you? Like, if people are listening today and they're like, okay, Jesse, convince me why I should meditate. What do you think the benefits are?
There are so many reasons. I know all my friends trying to get everyone to meditate. So there are so many scientifically backed reasons. Like, I could go off and mention like 1,000, but for example, one is that meditation is as effective as some antidepressants at treating depression, which is amazing. It's basically like closing your eyes for 10 minutes a day. It's for free. You don't have to do anything, and it really contributes positively to your mental health. And so, obviously, that's great to say, but one of the reasons that I continue meditation is because I personally gained a lot from it, and I could see from the day to day the benefits that I was having, the clarity that it brought to my day.
Yeah, and what does that mean practically? So, like, if people are meditating and they're like, okay, how do I know if I have more clarity in the day? Because I feel like I felt this too, but I'd love just to know from your experience, like, what does that
What does
feel
clarity look like? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
What does clarity look like?
It feels like noticing that you're getting stressed when you're focusing on a particular task before you do get too stressed, that it starts to take over. When you just can take a breath in like that and just be calm. And yeah, it's pretty great.
Very nice. And when you think, so meditation as a personal interest, I like that it's something that you did for you, and you saw it, you sort of like treated yourself as a little bit of the guinea pig here, and you're like, I'm going to roll this out of myself, do it for 30 days, then see that you actually like it. And then like someone who's watching something amazing on Netflix, you're like, you have to watch this, it's an idea of going around and telling all your friends. But one of the things I love about your story is you didn't just go around and tell all your friends, you actually facilitated it and made it something that was accessible to students in your college. So can you tell us a little bit about what you did next in terms of bringing it to life and making it available for others?
Yeah, so I started offering free meditation courses to people at my college. So I did an accredited course online. I got accreditation to teach meditation. And then I started teaching people twice a week, just guiding them through meditation.
Very cool. And how long have you done that for now?
I've done that for almost 3 months now.
Twice a week for 3 months, hosted over online, in person?
It's been hosted online and in person. At the moment, I'm just doing it in person, but I'll bring online back soon. And I'm also offering afternoon sessions.
Cool. Very cool. So one of the things I guess that we're hearing here is, and if you're listening and you're wondering, okay, well, how does this help me and my employability? One of our biggest suggestions is start something, whether it's right now, today, Tuesday, the 9th of June, whether it's you started it 3 months ago, whether you're going to start it in a week, like you can start today. And if you've got something that works for you, you can roll it out for other people. It's the same thing with campus. It was all the books and things I was seeing helping me in my various jobs. And I was like, I could teach this stuff. I could help people. In the same way that Jesse's gone, meditation works for me. I could teach it. I could show other people. Whether it's you love cooking and it's a free cooking show, whether it's a podcast and you talk about an issue that you care about, whether it's a fundraiser for a particular cause, a student club around a particular issue or hobby, or something that you just love, or in this case, something like what Jesse's doing where mindfulness and meditation worked for him, did an online course and now teaches it to others. If you start something, that's the sort of thing you want to roll into an interview with. If you can sit down in front of an employer and go, I was in this really tough situation, I found one thing that works for me and I helped bring that thing to other people and help them. It's a beautiful gift to bring to the world. And that's what employers are looking for. Are you going to be a leader who'll solve an interesting problem? And can you not only identify the problem, but find a solution and then bring it to others? So I love that idea that you found something, but then you have started it and put it out into the world. Jesse, in terms of, and I'm sure there'll be some parallels in terms of what you teach in employability, so maybe we could get into that. When it gets into some of the meditation practice, what is it that, you either something that you like to teach people or a process you like to teach, or what's a problem or a challenge that people typically have with learning to meditate or sticking to it? What have you found from your experience?
Yeah. So a problem that I've come across a fair few times is that people tell themselves that they're not the meditating sort of person. So they tell themselves this limiting belief that they can't meditate. And so what I do in that circumstance is I'm like, okay, just give me a minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes of your time, and we'll run through a quick session. And that works most of the time. Like people see that they can actually meditate, even if it's just for 1 minute.
Yeah.
And then the process from that point on is to um, increase that level. So meditation is just practice. Every time you meditate, you're just practicing. So everything that you do is basically fine. And so just increasing that level of practice and teaching them that it's okay if you have um, thoughts, distracting thoughts like running into your head. That's
Mm.
so normal.
Mm.
So that's another thing. People struggle with distracting thoughts in their head. And so that's actually what meditation is. It's bringing your focus to one thing, like the breath, for example, or it could be a mantra, it could be a thought, it could be lots of different things. And so a lot of the time people will be distracted and they'll think that they're doing something wrong. But actually, that's literally what meditation is. It's getting distracted and bringing your attention back. It's that bringing your attention back, which is the real practice.
Mm. Interesting. And so for you, as you've now run, you've run these for multiple months, a couple of times a week, what have you learned personally about yourself, what you like? Obviously, a job or employment in the future is hopefully will be a combination of what you're good at, what you enjoy doing, and what you believe the world needs, amongst other things. But it sounds like you believe in meditation, you believe in the power of positive, proactive mental health. It sounds like you're good at it. Students are tuning in, and it sounds like you enjoy it. What have you learned about yourself, whether it's as a teacher, an instructor, or just you in general, going through actually running all these sessions?
Yeah. Well, one thing that I've learned is through running multiple sessions is a confidence in myself to teach others. And so when I started meditating, maybe I wasn't so confident. I did a whole course. So I remember before my first session, I was very nervous. But as I did more and more sessions, I became a little more confident and was able to offer, I think, better courses because of that.
Mm. And if people are thinking about like starting this off, when you did your first session, were you fully confident going into that? Was this something you were like, oh yeah, I'll totally be able to figure this out? Or were you a bit nervous at the start?
I was definitely nervous.
I think this is like the important part of like when we say like step one, start something, put something out into the world. The big part of that is put it out before you're ready. Put it out before you think it's ready, because the world's ready. And
I think that's so valuable. Yeah.
You agree with that?
100%. It's so good to start.
And then when you start it, the next thing is confidence comes from doing it. And too often we want to be confident before we do anything. It's like, it doesn't work that way. We've got to like put something out into the world, have people like come, not come, criticize it, or just say nothing, absolute crickets. And then just to see if people actually want it. And then so you develop those skills, which is amazing, because when it comes into going for a job interview, when it comes into applying for work, you've not only done something that you've then got the benefit of becoming the sort of person who can put something out into the world.
Right. And I think it's important when you're starting something to not be afraid of failure, because that's what you learn from.
How did you get over that?
Well, I confronted the fear that I had, and I sort of told myself in one way or another that fear like wasn't real.
Okay, so that idea of confronting the fear, what did you actually do? What did that process look like? Did you sit down and write it out? Did you think about it? Did you talk to someone?
Yeah, so I write things out. I keep a daily journal. So I write about like what I'm feeling, and I acknowledge that there was nervousness in starting this thing, but I also realized that this would be a positive thing, teaching meditation to other people, and it would have a positive impact. And for me, that sort of outweighed the fear that I had in starting something new.
So I was developing a few, or making conscious the reasons why you were doing it. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and also sitting with your fear or your nervousness is important. Like ignoring it, I feel isn't very useful. But just meditating teaches you to be comfortable with yourself and be comfortable with your thoughts and to just observe them. And so that was really useful as well.
So where do you stand on, I think this is really interesting. I had this conversation with a buddy over the weekend, and he was describing his fears as irrational. And I was like, I don't really know if I believe fears are irrational. And so we'll get digging into this. So I'd love to hear just your thoughts, Jesse. Do you think your fears, like when you're like, I think you said something like, oh, my fears, what did you say? My fears aren't real. But then it was like, I need to sit with them. So what do you think? Do you think it's that these, like, because you can feel fear, like whatever we want to call it, that emotion of when you're afraid, like if you look over a cliff, I feel something. Like, I don't care what we call that, but I feel something. But also, like, I can acknowledge that I might feel something and then like I can push through it. And Jamie Foxx has this great thing where he always says, what's on the other side of fear? Nothing. But that feeling feels quite real in the moment. So yeah, where do you stand on that? Do you think it's real? Do you think it's not real? What has meditation kind of taught you?
I think it's real to you. You can feel it. And for a lot of people, it can be like a very visceral feeling. For me, that's certainly the case. And so fear is definitely real to you. But I think it's important to look at things objectively when you have fear and to be able to think reasonably and logically and clearly. And once you have that sort of clarity behind the reason that you want to do something, then it's so much easier. And it also comes with practice, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. And Seng's jumped in saying that's so true. Confront the fear and turn it into a catalyst. I think that might be a really nice way to think of that. Is like, we always, in workshops, we always ask, what's the fear for? So it's like, okay, I feel it's really nice quote. Yeah, you like it? And it's sort of, what we're trying to dig into there is like, your body feels this way for a reason. And is it that like, oh, okay, if I look over the cliff, I should probably be afraid of that because like if I fall, I will get hurt. Like there's a safety mechanism there. But also when it comes to, snowboarding or something like that, I always come back to, you can't read about snowboarding, you've actually got to do it. And that idea of if you want to improve, you've got to like go past the point where you're afraid. You've got to step into areas where you're uncomfortable.
Yeah, that is so true. Stepping into areas where you're uncomfortable is how you grow. And I think if you're fearful and you overcome that, that's growing. That's moving a step in the right direction.
Love it. So what's that next direction in that idea of like stepping into the unknown is where you grow? I believe that you don't grow in your safety zone or your comfort zone. For you, Jesse, if you look forward for the rest of the year, different career paths, different opportunities within college, student clubs, where do you want to go? Like, what does your growth kind of journey look like at the moment?
So every step that I take, I want to take a step. That wasn't phrased very well.
That's right. Go again.
Okay. So I want to move towards being the person that I want to be in 5 to 10 years. So every step that I take right now, I want it to be a step in that direction. And so I realize there will be lots of little steps that will lead up to this idea, to this image that I have in my head of the sort of person that I want to be, that represents the sort of values that I want to, have. And so I think about that on pretty much a daily basis. And I think about how I can work towards doing that.
And are there any of those values that stand out to you in particular? I mean, one of the fact that you're even not conscious of your values at such a young age amazes me. And I say that with the greatest respect because I didn't have a clue what mine were until I was like 25, 26. And it changed the game, totally changed the game for me. Because then once you know what they are, you can go, okay, does this align with them, yes or no? And even if you do something that's outside of your values, you're conscious of it. You're like, okay, but like if I did that once, like if I had that third piece of pizza when I knew I was full, does that align with the value? Like maybe not. So for you, now that like you are aware of them and will increasingly become aware of them and craft them, what does that look like, I suppose, on a daily basis? Like if people are saying, okay, well, because we've talked about values on the show before, but for you coming back to them on a daily basis, like what does that process look like? Do you sit down with a list of them? Are they written on the mirror? You said you were journaling before. Do you journal on them specifically? How do you keep them kind of top of mind?
Sure. So one of my 2 driving values is to do the very best that I can do. And so I'm constantly competing with myself, whether it's in like sports or academics, to do the best that I can do and to always be learning. So every time I'm in the gym or every time I'm running, I'm always trying to push myself and do the most I can. And so that's a really great way of bringing it back on like a pretty much daily basis.
I like it.
Yep.
That's cool. A quote I heard last week that I liked was this idea of don't let best get in the way of better. And I read a book over the weekend. What's it? Tia Toomey, and it's called I think it's called How to Become the Fittest Woman in the World, or Becoming the Fittest Woman in the World. And she won like the global CrossFit games, whatever. Just like a beast. Like she's amazing. And this book her concept was always about like her always, exactly like you're saying, running or in the gym, literally those two things, always trying to be better than her previous best every day. And she had this one line which I loved, where she said, even when I won, I wanted to know, like the next time I went out and trained, I tried to beat that time. And so it was this constant, like I was always just trying to be that little bit better than who I was, than what I could achieve yesterday. And I thought that was such an interesting insight of not just trying to like not be the best in a category necessarily, but that constant strive to be like better than myself, which I liked.
Yeah, I think it's so important. It's such a great value to have.
Cool. Well, from someone who's in the thick of it, Jesse, I know you've got a lot going on. I know it's exam time right now. It's coming towards the end of the semester. You're doing a lot. You shared a lot about your journey, which I love today. And a big part of why I was keen to have you on is you're in the thick of it. Like you're doing it, you're living it. You're not reading about this academically. Like this is what I'm actually doing, which I think is really valuable. And so some of the things that I guess I've pulled from talking with you today, and I'd love to reiterate for people, the idea of starting something. Just start something, whatever it is, whether it's a podcast, a YouTube channel, a blog, you start journaling, you start meditating, you launch an event, a fundraiser, 7 random ideas, something that you can put out into the world. We always say something you can point at and say, what did you do during COVID? You're like, I did that. Like it's something you can point at, which is brilliant. The second thing is this idea of confidence is going to come from doing. You're not going to feel confident at the start. And if you could take the point from saying before of use it as a catalyst by saying, if you look at something and go, oh, I'm not confident about that, that might be the exact reason you need to do it. So step 3, I guess, there from Jesse is that idea of confronting the fear. And as Sang said, use it as a catalyst. Right? Don't ignore it. That's not the point of meditation, but to be aware of it and acknowledge it for what it really is, not what it's not. The 4th tip there, that growth comes from stepping into the unknown, that before you're confident, you're obviously going to have to do, but it also means you're going to go into some areas you're not familiar with. I know Jesse was, this is you running Zoom sessions online and you doing in-person meditation events. Like these aren't things you learn in a university classroom necessarily. So there's a little bit of unknown there. And then that last point of doing the best that I can do, I think is a beautiful point to end on. So Jesse, as people are looking forward this week, and I'd just love to know from you, what does the best you can do look like this week? What is it that in the short term, just the next few days, do you have exams coming up? Like what are you striving to work towards or have a crack at this week?
Yeah, so I'm currently in SWAT facts, so that means I'm studying pretty intensely for the exams that I have coming up. So doing the best that I can do in this case means retaining all of my healthy habits, like meditating, going to the gym, eating healthy, and also studying as hard as I can to set myself up optimally for exams.
Cool. Awesome, mate. Well, we wish you all the best with that this week. Thank you for coming on and giving us some of your time today. We flew through half an hour just like that. It goes super quick. Thanks for everything that you do and that you support. If people want to check out what you do, follow along, see any of your meditation sessions, I mean, at the moment, are they being offered publicly or are they all internally within the college?
At the moment, they're all internal within the college.
Cool. Are you on where do you play online? Are you on any socials or are you on a very zenned out, social free? People want to follow along, is there any way they can see what you're up to?
Yes, of course. If you want to follow along, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or follow my LinkedIn. I would love to have a chat.
Cool. Awesome.
Yep,
Name's up on the
awesome.
screen there. If you want to follow along with Jesse, make sure you reach out, connect. We've had a few guests on the show, and I've reached out to a couple of days after, and they said, "Yeah, I got so many messages." So it's working. So we thank you if you're listening for reaching out and chatting to guests. They're all so receptive and up for a chat. So please do if you're interested. If you're a fellow student interested in this area as well, Jesse's a wealth of knowledge here and is actually practically doing it, which is great. So with that, thank you for joining today. Have an amazing Tuesday. And we'll see you again tomorrow for episode number 42. And before we go, Jesse, thanks again for your time today, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me, Josh. It has been an absolute pleasure.
Awesome.
Look forward to chatting with you soon. Bye.
Likewise, my friend. And thanks for everyone who commented today. We'll see you again later. Bye all.